The title of Duke of Rothesay and the other Scottish titles which I've had the honour to carry for so long, I now pass to Catherine.
The announcement was never supposed to shake the monarchy. It was delivered quietly, without a grand ceremony, without cheering crowds, and without a single warning that history had just shifted behind the walls of Buckingham Palace. Yet the moment a sealed palace statement confirmed that Catherine had been granted an authority unlike anything seen for a royal woman in generations. The balance inside the House of Windsor changed forever. Courtiers stopped treating it as another ceremonial appointment. Senior figures suddenly realized this was not about adding another title to Catherine's name. It was about placing the future of the crown into her hands, while King Charles still sat on the throne, before the palace could shape the public narrative. Whispers were already racing through royal corridors, asking the same dangerous question. What had frightened King Charles enough to hand Catherine power immediately instead of waiting for William to become king? And why did some people inside the palace react with pride, while others reacted with unmistakable panic? Even more unsettling was what happened before anyone outside the palace understood the significance of that announcement. Catherine reportedly stood holding the sealed appointment, reading its final paragraph twice, as if she could hardly believe the words in front of her. This was no decorative honor. The document named her Royal Regent and Guardian of the Crown, a position carrying genuine constitutional authority. If King Charles became unable to perform his duties, Catherine could act in his name. That meant decisions affecting the continuity and stability of the monarchy would no longer wait for William's accession. They could begin immediately under Catherine's authority. William watched her expression change from disbelief to quiet determination. Yet beneath his pride lay another emotion he could not hide: fear. He knew millions of people would see trust. But inside Buckingham Palace, others would see something entirely different. They would see a woman who had suddenly become powerful enough to stand between the monarchy and anyone seeking to influence its future. King Charles understood the consequences better than anyone. According to the documented palace account, his hand reportedly trembled before he signed the appointment. He paused because he knew there would be no easy way back. Once granted, this authority could not simply be withdrawn without creating constitutional chaos. This was not a temporary favor. It was an irreversible transfer of trust. Then, Catherine reportedly noticed another sentence hidden within the decree that made the situation even more explosive. Her powers would begin immediately. Not after William became king. Not during some distant transition. Right now. And that revelation became even more disturbing when a second sealed page reportedly granted her the authority to review senior appointments and intervene whenever decisions threatened the continuity of the crown. Suddenly, this was no longer about ceremonial appearances. Someone had decided the monarchy needed protection from something already happening inside its own household. What happened next raised even more questions. As Catherine left carrying the documents, a senior courtier received immediate instructions to summon Queen Consort Camilla alone. She had not been shown the hidden page. She did not yet know how extensive Catherine's authority truly was. Yet preparations were already underway for her reaction before she even learned the full truth. That detail transformed everything. If this appointment were simply a celebration of Catherine's future role, why conceal part of it from Camilla? Why isolate the Queen Consort while others already understood what had changed? Inside royal circles, titles have never been measured solely by official wording. Real power moves through trust, influence, private loyalties, hidden resentments, and conversations the public never hears. Catherine's appointment instantly created winners, casualties, and one deeply wounded figure who never imagined her own influence could suddenly begin shrinking. As excitement spread beyond palace gates, those closest to the king saw something far darker unfolding beneath the headlines. Catherine's rise forced every major royal figure into an uncomfortable confrontation with their greatest fear. Charles faced the possibility that safeguarding the monarchy now required trusting someone other than the people closest to him. William recognized his wife would become the obvious target for anyone resisting change. Catherine realized she no longer stood merely beside the future king, but carried responsibility in her own right. Camilla faced perhaps the most painful realization of all. Authority was no longer flowing toward her position. It was flowing around it. Suddenly, the monarchy appeared to be preparing for a future without asking everyone currently holding influence whether they approved. William noticed Catherine's unease almost immediately. During a private conversation reportedly preserved in the family archive, Catherine admitted she feared people would interpret the appointment as evidence that King Charles himself was weakening. William answered carefully, offering a response that sounded less like reassurance and more like a warning. "Sometimes trust," he said, "does not replace a ruler. Sometimes it protects him from the people closest to him." Those words hung heavily because they hinted at something the palace refused to explain publicly. Protecting the king from whom? What danger had become serious enough that Catherine needed emergency authority while Charles remained monarch? Then another revelation emerged that made the timing impossible to ignore. William reportedly learned his father had been considering Catherine for this position months earlier. Even more surprising, Charles deliberately excluded both William and Camilla from the final discussions. Senior courtiers only supported the appointment after reaching a deeply troubling conclusion. Someone within the royal household had interfered with sensitive decisions connected to the line of succession. That single allegation transformed Catherine's appointment from recognition into defense. If succession planning had already been manipulated internally, then this decree was not anticipating a crisis. It was responding to one already unfolding behind palace doors. As Catherine reviewed the decree again, one handwritten notation reportedly caught her attention. Unlike the surrounding legal language, these words stood alone in the margin. Windsor incident. She immediately asked King Charles what they meant. Instead of answering, he looked at the page, quietly closed the file, and refused to explain. His silence proved more revealing than any explanation could have been. Somewhere inside Windsor Castle, something had happened serious enough to reshape the future of the monarchy. Yet, even Catherine, the woman now entrusted with protecting the crown, was not immediately told the full story. That unanswered question became the thread connecting everything that followed. The palace had tried to bury what happened that night at Windsor, but according to the documented account, it became impossible to ignore. 3 months earlier, King Charles gathered William, Catherine, Camilla, and 3 senior advisors inside Windsor Castle to discuss emergency plans if he became temporarily unable to perform his royal duties. The proposal appeared routine. William would oversee primary responsibilities while Catherine helped maintain public confidence during any transition. Then, everything reportedly changed in a single meeting. Camilla objected to Catherine holding authority independent of her office. She pushed forward a revised document requiring every instruction to pass through the queen consort before reaching Catherine. On paper, it looked administrative. In reality, it stripped Catherine from her original position and placed her beneath Camilla's control. William immediately noticed his wife's name had been moved. Looking directly across the table, he asked the question that shattered the calm. Who authorized this change? At that moment, what began as planning for the monarchy's future quietly became a battle over who would truly control it, and no one inside that room realized the confrontation had only just begun. Camilla defended herself immediately, insisting she was protecting King Charles from what she described as an inexperienced parallel court forming around William and Catherine. She argued that dividing authority during a constitutional emergency could fracture the monarchy itself. But Catherine refused to answer in anger. Instead, she quietly folded her hands and turned toward Charles, waiting for him to decide whether he would protect the future queen or allow private influence to outweigh the future of the crown. Charles reacted without hesitation. He ended the meeting on the spot, collected both versions of the document, ordered every copy secured, and instructed constitutional advisors to begin drafting an authority powerful enough that no palace office could ever override it again. That decision would eventually become the very decree Catherine now held in her hands. But another consequence unfolded quietly behind closed doors. Weeks later, Camilla reportedly discovered that the entire Windsor confrontation had been preserved inside a confidential memorandum. She became convinced that Catherine had secretly helped build the case against her. Whether that belief was true or not, almost no longer mattered. Suspicion had entered the royal household, and once suspicion replaces trust, every private conversation begins looking like evidence. The tension finally exploded when Camilla requested a private meeting with Catherine immediately after learning how extensive the new title truly was. There were no advisors, no cameras, and no carefully prepared palace statements waiting outside the door. This was no longer a constitutional discussion. It was a direct confrontation between two women whose futures had suddenly become intertwined. Camilla placed a copy of the decree on the table and asked the question that had haunted her ever since Windsor. Had Catherine known this appointment had been designed to weaken her? Her voice remained calm, but every word carried accusation. She believed Catherine's rise was not simply about strengthening the monarchy. She believed it marked the moment the crown stopped trusting her. Catherine never looked away. She answered that she had never asked for the position, but neither would she apologize for accepting a responsibility King Charles believed the monarchy required. Refusing it now, she explained, would not heal the family or erase what had happened at Windsor. It would simply return authority to the same uncertainty that had already threatened the crown. Those words shattered Camilla's remaining restraint. She accused Catherine of turning public admiration into private ambition and using popularity as a weapon against those who had stood beside Charles for years. Catherine answered just as firmly. Protecting her children's future was not ambition. It was duty. And no one would make her feel guilty for defending it. William warned that vague authority would only invite further attacks against Catherine and leave competing palace offices issuing conflicting instructions during a national crisis. Charles knew strengthening Catherine would inevitably humiliate Camilla, yet weakening Catherine risked exposing the monarchy to another internal struggle. Then the council examined a restricted file containing an even more alarming discovery. Two senior household officials had already acted on Camilla's altered Windsor instructions before learning King Charles had never authorized them. The interference had already moved beyond paperwork. It had begun influencing real palace decisions. That revelation settled the debate. The council approved a confidential protocol, placing Catherine above competing household influence whenever succession, emergency communication, public confidence, or the monarch's recorded wishes were threatened. Charles stared at the final page, knowing exactly what his signature would mean. It would protect the institution he had sworn to preserve, but it would also permanently alter the balance inside his own family. He signed beneath Catherine's full title. Before the meeting even ended, one senior palace official was removed from Camilla's chain of command. The first consequence of Catherine's new authority had already begun reshaping the palace, and if one signature could change the hierarchy overnight. The question lingering through every royal corridor became impossible to ignore. If this was only the beginning of Catherine's authority, what would happen the first time she was forced to use it against someone even closer to the throne?